built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to get, you built the nation. But you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes absolute sense. Okay, let's get this going. Let's get this going.
On it?
Hey, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Do we have a Caucasian man here?
Well, I'm Italian. I'm Southern Italian.
Same.
From New York, so it's a little different.
I know. It's still Caucasian, but y'all still got that Moorish blood. Are you Sicilian or what part of it?
Nobliadan, Sicilian, yeah. But I'm also from New York City. It's a whole different. New York City is a whole culture in and of itself.
No doubt.
You know? So if you don't know, I'll school you on that.
No,
you know, I don't even know where you're from.
Well,
to be honest.
What's on your mind?
But definitely don't just group me in with Caucasian, bro. Southern Italians had it very rough. They were called the N-word. They were lynched. You sound like you know a lot about history, so
yeah, I know that. I know that they called you guineas. They called you guinnies when you came.
They called us the N-word too.
I know, and Guinea is a word for African. So
exactly. Thank you. 100%. Where are you from, by the way? I'm curious. Where are you from?
But you mentioned the lynching. As far as being lynched, you guys got paid for that. They gave y'all reparations, and they had to pay off Italy. So they had to apologize to the Italian government after they lynched the Italians. I think that was down in Louisiana, where they did.
What year was that?
Sometime in the 1800s. They did a mass lynching of a lot of Italians because the
The mass lynching was around 1891.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Right. It was in 1800s, like I said, 1800s, and it was down in.
I'm talking about the reparations. When did the reparations come?
That I'm not sure, but I know it came pretty soon because they had to apologize to the Italian government and they had to pay the family, the people who were lynched. So, but anyway, what's on your mind? What's going on?
Well, they fucked the Italians anyway in 1924 with the Immigration Act that basically stopped all immigration from Southern Italy at that time.
Yeah, but they started letting you be white around that time too, around 19.
No, it's really after World War II.
Right.
All right, so let me butt in here. Okay, let's do some fact checking about this stuff. Okay, give me a second. Let's pull up some things. Matter of fact, let me play the video till I find it.
Italians fought in World War II that they started doing that.
Yeah, they started classifying.
But there were also guys that started getting prominent in the 1930s that were encouraging Italian Americans to assimilate, and you know. But there's a lot of actually you were kind of leading into where I'm going with this, which is that. You know, these Italian Americans also paved a lot of the ways for Black Americans.
Not really. Go ahead.
Well, you had the
Wait. Before we go into that, let's do some fact checking. All right. So, if you didn't know, family, yes, and I knew this because I studied history of immigration. Does that mean I know everything? No. That just means I know what I remember. You dig? What I don't remember, I don't know. But I remember that they were lynched. They were discriminated against and treated as racial outsiders during parts of the 19th and early 20th centuries, right, in the United States. Okay, so now what they're talking about is one of the most notorious events occurred in 1891 in New Orleans, where 11 Italian men were lynched by a mob, one of the largest mass lynchings in U.S. history. Okay, so just real quick. March 14th, 1891, a mob of white New Orleanians lynched 11 Italian immigrants, some of who were acquitted and not yet tried in the murder of police chief David Hennessy. Okay, so let me explain that further. I know about the story. So these guys, well, I just said it, these guys were accused of murdering a police chief. Okay, so they went to trial. They beat it. They got acquitted. You know how white folks do. You know, these Italians learned the right way. You dig? They learned about white supremacy real fast. So I think they said about 100,000 whites gathered and went to New Orleans and went to lynching. Everything moving that talk like my man right here. if you sound like this,
and but there's a lot of actually you were kind of leading into where
if you sound like that, you were lynched. Okay, so the mob stormed the jail after a court acquitted several Italians and couldn't reach a verdict for others. Right, the lynching was cheered on by public officials, including the mayor and prominent citizens. Right. So Italians, especially Sicilians, that's what Tariq is going to, were viewed by Anglo-Americans as racially inferior, criminal, clannish, and unassimilable, right? They couldn't assimilate to America, whiteness. There was also competition between Italians and other working class ethnic groups for jobs in agriculture, fishing, and port labor. Italians were seen as not quite white, placed in the racial limbo similar to that of other marginalized groups. So what happened? The Italian government, Italy, broke diplomatic relations with the U.S. after the lynching. It demanded reparations. The government of Italy condemned the lynchings as barbaric and nearly went to war. Okay, so the U.S. federal government, under pressure, paid $25,000 in compensation to the families of the lynched Italians in 1892. No one was held accountable for the lynchings. Family, do you hear this? This is president. Because they tell us, hey, no, we can't pay you reparations because you were not the ones living. We can't give you something. Reparations historically is always given to the survivors, not the descendants of survivors. The Jewish people, they were given reparations as they were alive. The Japanese, the Native Americans, they were all alive when they got it. Well, the U.S. federal government, under pressure, paid $25,000 in compensation to the families of the Italians in 1892. Okay, so let's go back to the dude who didn't know his history.
Who were lynched. So, but 1800s, like I said, 1800s, and it was down in.
I'm talking about the reparations. When did the reparations come?
That I'm not sure, but I know it came pretty soon because they had to apologize to the Italian government and they had to pay the family, the people who were lynched. So, but anyway, what's on your mind? What's going on?
Well, they fucked the Italians anyway in 1924.
Okay, so
with the Immigration Act
that
basically stopped all immigration from southern Italy.
So yeah, but that was like, yeah, he don't know about immigration laws around the early 1900s. He doesn't know. Okay, but let me read a few early comments. Right. Let me shout out the family. So we have your granddaddy Nurse, peace, Ron, in the chat. We got Diamond, Ron Miles in chat. We got Telescope. He said Frank Sinatra made a way for a few brothers in entertainment, Vegas, but that's about it. We got Passport King. Peace to FBA News in the chat. Andre Townsend says they're this guy. His name Think Tank. Yeah. We already talked about him. His name is African Think Tank. He's a big clown. He dodges all the smoke. So many people called him out. He dodges all of us. But he has that, like, he's a real cult leader. He's a real cult leader. Cult leaders never really expose themselves to a debate. If they do, they'll make sure that they're in control of the buttons, right? They're not going to take an L in front of their cult members because what's the point of following? So a lot of cult leaders do not expose themselves to open debate. African Think Tank, in my opinion, is a cult leader. He's not successful, but he's a cult leader. And I've called him out. Many people called him out, and he refused to step up to any challenge. Not just him. It's a bunch of guys out there who we called out that refused to challenge themselves. I think he says, Ron, my squad in chat, good Sunday. Passport King said Native Americans stay collecting reparations from broken treaties from over a century ago and even further back in time. Right. All right, so let's continue. But I just cooked. Like they were so now look, it's tricky, family. It's the word game. So those Italians who were lynched, of course, they didn't receive reparations. They were dead. Yeah, come on, man. Like how obvious is that? just a word game. Family, listen to me. So an Italian will say, they never got reparations. He's talking about the literal dead men. It's like, yeah, you're right. The dead guys didn't get reparations, but their families did on their behalf. You see, family, you got to just be careful talking to these white supremacists and tethers. Like, they're very well versed in black coon conservatives. They're not in alt-right conservatives. These guys are polished in their lies, and sometimes they mix truth with lies. And the only way you can get past that is to know the entire truth. Okay, but if you don't really know what they're talking about, you're done on that point. But Tariq cooked them. He said, "Nah, they got reparations, and I don't know about that exactly." How you don't know about your own history? That's terrible.
That time.
Yeah, but they start letting you be white around that time too, around 19.
No, it's really after World War II.
Right.
The Italians fought in World War II that they started doing that.
Yeah, they started be
But
classified.
there were also guys that started getting prominent in the 1930s that were encouraging Italian Americans to assimilate and, but there's a lot of, actually, we're kind of leading into where I'm going with this, which is that, these Italian Americans also paved a lot of the ways for Black.
Okay, so before you go with the lie, let's talk about the assimilation to whiteness. All right, let's deal with that first. So over time, Italians became more accepted as white in America, particularly after World War II. So he was right. The Italian guy was right. As whiteness expanded to include Southern and Eastern Europeans, family, if you were with me 2-3 months ago, I told you that Anglo-Saxons looked at Southern and Eastern Europeans as inferior white people. They seen the Northern Europeans and the Western Europeans as truly Anglo-Saxon, pure white. Okay, matter of fact, the early immigration laws, the early immigration restrictive laws of 1917, 1924 were not for, and they had the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, obviously that was to exclude Chinese, but outside of that, the early immigration restrictive laws were for white people. There was no thought of an influx of Hispanics, Africans, or Jamaicans. That was not a thought at all. At this point, they were inviting Europeans. Okay, Western and Northern can come with no problem, but they wanted to put a quota on the Southern and Eastern Europeans, the one they call Kim Kardashian, like those folks. That's why they don't really trip when they marry a black guy or have a baby with a black guy, because they already seen them as degenerates from the beginning. So if y'all take nothing from me, just know that Anglo-Saxons do not look at Southern and Eastern Europeans. Eastern is Russia, by the way, over there. They don't look at them as legitimate, pure Anglo-Saxon whites. They look at them as inferior degenerates that's going to mess up at some point, right? They under the brand of whiteness, but they still look at them as inferiors. Okay, so the Italians, they moved up socially and economically. They were buying homes, entering politics, and gaining representation in law enforcement, unions, and the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was another thing. So the Italian guys are going to talk about that. They definitely restricted Catholics from coming to the country way in like I'm talking about like 16, 17, and somewhere around, anywhere between 16 and 1800. Like they would not allow, probably 1800, they would not allow Catholics in here. Okay. But so now the Italians, as a result, they created tight-knit ethnic enclaves, mutual aid societies, newspapers, and parishes to survive racial hostility. These institutions helped them pull resources, support businesses, and educate the next generation. But they ain't never built a Black Wall Street. Interesting. Okay, now look at their distance from Blackness. Part of Italian Americans' whitening involved distancing themselves from Black Americans, often through racism and alignment with white political structures. So part of the whiteness, to become white fully, you can't align yourself up with Black folks. We'll talk about that later, because we align ourselves up with them to get things passed. So they said no more of that. Okay, so okay. But here's the difference that the Italian, most likely don't know. So while they are the Italians, while they suffer racial violence, they were eventually invited into whiteness, benefiting from, look what they came right in time. The GI Bill, FHA loans, 1933, 35, 34, everything you guys know. I talk about HOLC, union protections, white flight, suburban housing access, restrictive covenants. Okay. But while they benefit from those things, look what we were being deprived of. We were denied those same benefits systemically. We continue to face redlining, racial covenants, told you, and police brutality. Never received reparations or a pathway into the dominant racial group. All right? So anyway, let them go ahead and lie now.
Around 19.
No, it's really after World War II.
Right.
The Italians fought in World War II that they started doing that.
Yeah, they started the
But
classified.
there were also guys that started getting prominent in the 1930s that were encouraging Italian Americans to assimilate, and But there's a lot of actually we're kind of leading into where I'm going with this, which is that these Italian Americans also paved a lot of the ways for Black Americans.
Yeah.
Not really. Go ahead.
Well, you had the anarchists as early as 1901 that were, using violence against oppressors and tyrants. There's a lot of different ways. There was Vito, what the fuck was his name again? Mark Cantonio, who was, ran, most of the neighborhoods in New York that were Italian, that are Black now, were used to be Italian.
Well, the thing is, but the thing is, the Italians would actually, when they commit crimes, they would oftentimes hide in Black neighborhoods. They would hide from the authorities, especially during the 1930s, when they had that big crime wave with, Babyface Nelson, Dillinger, and that whole crime with Italians, and a lot of them would hide. The Mafia would hide in Black neighborhoods. So I wouldn't say they did anything.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to get some kind of resource on that. Yeah, I'd never heard about that.
Yeah. I wouldn't think they actually helped us because they came over and benefited.
Well, sure. I mean, look up Vito Marcantonio. He's the guy that was running Harlem in the 1930s. He was a very early.
So now listen to the name he just said, family. What's that I hear? These guys be using myths to explain how they helped us. Mythical figures. Listen to what he said.
Helped us because they came over and benefited.
Well, sure. I mean, look up Vito Marcantonio.
Marcantonio.
He's the guy that was running Harlem in the 1930s. He was a very early civil rights activist. He, pushed for a lot of that. I mean, if it wasn't for the Italian Americans are the ones that got all the labor laws passed.
Well,
it was Italian Americans that got all of the labor laws passed. Okay.
Labor laws, there was a horrific abuse of all the Americans that were working during the Industrial Revolution. When the factories went up, they were losing 10% of their workforce a week to death.
So they mix truthhood with falsehood. And if you don't know about the history in advance, they got you. Because you can't discern what's false from what's true.
They were losing 10%. They had children working. Nobody gave a fuck. They had them working 18, 20 hours a day, 6-7 days a week. So the Italians fought for the labor laws,
but that wasn't
Black Americans benefited from.
But that wasn't for Black people, though. Yeah,
Black Americans benefited from it, though.
But we benefited from our own labor, though, as foundational Black Americans. We benefited from our own labor. We built the country, so we benefited from our own labor.
Well, you didn't build the cities. The Italians built the cities.
Okay, so he's going to a different argument, right? So let me just fact check his first argument, where he says Italians paved the way for Black Americans. Okay, so family, I just read off that they benefited from they benefited from systemic racism when we were locked out. So how's that helping us out? How are they opening a door for you, helping us out? How is that paving a way? That's not fighting. When they freely open the door and say, hey, come into whiteness, how is that fighting for us? That's leaving us out to fight by ourselves. Okay, so I already listed FHA loans of 1934. You got the New Deal, 1935, the welfare, all that type unemployment insurance. You got 19 33, you got the HOLC Home Owner Loan Corporation. All right. Then you got the GI Bill 1944, stuff I know from the top of my head. They benefited from all of that. Okay. So labor unions. Italians gained union power and protection while FBAs were often excluded. FBA stands for Foundational Black Americans, in case anybody's new here. From while foundational Black Americans were often excluded or placed in the lowest paying jobs. That's not fighting for us. Okay, policing and politics. Italians became police officers and city officials in many cities enforcing laws that upheld Jim Crow like urban segregation. That's not helping us. So no, Italians did not pave the way for Black people. They passed by them and they enforced Jim Crow laws. Now he said anarchists. Okay, anarchists didn't fight for Black liberation. Okay, so you got a few Italian anarchists like Luigi Galliani who opposed capitalism and authoritarianism. Okay, but their fight was about class struggle, not racial equality. Okay, kind of similar to Tether's. They were not building coalitions with Black communities. Now watch this. There is no historical evidence that early 1900s Italians, anarchists, prioritized or fought for the liberation of foundational Black Americans. All right, so being anti-government doesn't mean being pro-Black. It doesn't mean being pro-SBA, okay? Those are different fights. You got a lot of Confederates who are anti-government, but they're the most racist people in the country. They don't fight for nothing. Okay, so no, that's not it. Okay, so now he said, let's see what he said last.
Country from our own labor, though, as foundational Black Americans, we benefited from our own labor. We built the country, so we benefited from our own labor.
Well, you didn't build the cities.
Here we go. Okay, now the city talk. Okay, so now claiming formerly Italian neighborhoods are now Black is misleading. When Italians left urban neighborhoods, it wasn't paving the way, it was white flight. As Black people moved in during the Great Migration, white Italian, Irish, and Jewish families moved to the suburbs. They often sold homes through contract buying schemes, charging Black families inflated prices with no equity. Italians benefited from racist housing policies and rising property values while Black residents inherited this investment. Okay, that's not generosity, that's exploitation. Now, who is Mark Antonio? He said that. He said that name, Mark Antonio. There's no such thing as him in history. Okay, there's no documented figure named Mark Antonio who ran Italian neighborhoods and helped Black people. He just flat out just made up a mythical name and lied. Okay, that's something he learned in their neighborhoods to make them feel better about themselves. Okay, so that was a lie. Maybe he meant Antonio Camponegro. That's his name. He was a Philly mobster. Then he's referencing organized crime, not Black liberation. But the only Antonio was a mafioso. Okay, so Italian Americans didn't pave the way for foundational Black Americans. They benefited from the systems that locked us out. They got loans, the unions, the political positions, and the whiteness, while FBAs got redlined, over-policed, and denied equity. Okay, that's not allyship, that's advantage. Right?
The Italians built the cities, and the Irish, and you know, all the cities that Black Americans migrated to by choice in the early 1900s. They did the same thing that you're saying that the African immigrants are doing.
If the Italians did that, why didn't they build the shit in Italy?
They did. It was the Roman Empire. What are you talking about? They built a million things in Italy.
A zillion years ago, sir, and it's still raggedy now. The Roman ruins are still.
Well, they built the Bank of America, right?
They were the first, out in California. I know that.
But that was the first bank that actually provided money to people that were poor.
Why didn't they do all that in Italy?
We're talking about America right now. I don't care about Italy.
They did all that. So why was Italy broke, poor,
and dude is lying.
We're talking about America right
But we're
now.
talking, but if you
I'm
say
not.
you
I
did,
don't
if
care
you,
about Italy. I don't know why
I
you're
can't name
bringing
one
Italy up.
but
passport
if
king.
you the one who said the
Maybe
Italians did all this stuff,
Italian
maybe
Americans, Italian
bootlegging,
Americans.
why
I'm
didn't they
talking
do
about.
that back?
bootlegging liquor passport.
Who cares? What I'm talking
I
about is
can't.
how they helped they paved the way for Black
They didn't
Americans
pave a
here.
damn thing for Black Americans. They came over and benefited from the free labor and wealth
You straight to the Leaning
generated by
Tower.
Black Americans.
No. The
Yes,
Black Americans moved to where the Italians and the Irish
stop,
lived, and they took
stop.
their jobs and they took
Where
their
did
free
Black
housing, and while they were fighting in World War One.
stop it? With family,
Okay, so we already exposed that he's lying. It was white flight. Once they got accepted to whiteness, it was called white flight. They left those urban neighborhoods for the suburbs, and we took and they sold the houses, right? And like we got something for free, and they inflated the prices. They did us no favors. They exploited us.
we built
Stop it. This is factual. This is
sir,
factual.
you're revising history. Foundational Black Americans built a nation that immigrants
Built what nation? They were in
over
2-3 states. What are you talking? They were mostly in Virginia. What are you talking about? The North always outperformed the South.
Stop it.
If it wasn't for the North, you would still be in slavery. What are you talking
Stop.
about?
How so? Because now you're trolling.
Because the North won the war. What are you talking about,
the
bro?
North, the North won the war.
You see, and this is what happens when you're Italian. You're new to this country. You don't know American history.
Because foundational Black Americans started fighting for the Union because the Union was losing. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's a fact.
Because
Say
now,
that again. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
yeah, because what I'm not going to let you do is start trolling because you're trying to ramp up some trolling. So the
I'm not trolling
Union,
at all. This is all fact, bro.
the Union was losing the Civil War. The Confederates were beating the shit
Aprils,
out of
FBA
the
Big
Union.
Dog.
The only
Red
reason
Dog.
the Union won is because they started to recruit Black soldiers, sir. So it was
That's
foundational.
not true.
It's
That's not
100% true. Not only
Okay,
that,
so now Tariq should have asked him, and why did Abraham Lincoln sign that 1863 law that allowed blacks to fight in the Civil War? And Abraham Lincoln did say the Civil War would have never ended, maybe a stalemate, had not black people fought in there. So he definitely gave black people credit for winning the war, a side being chosen. So this dude just don't know simple American history.
The North always had more money than the.
stop. Not only that, Black people down in Florida were freeing themselves. They were destroying the plantations down in Florida, the Black Seminoles. So Black people were not only fighting in the South, they were fighting for the Union. So Black people were active in the freeing of themselves. So let's get history clear. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Scarface. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you had me muted. I didn't say that there was no participation from Black Americans, but to act like Black Americans, there was way more people, quote unquote, white people in the North that were fighting that war. And it was the generals, it was the innovation with how to fight battles, it was the strategies, it was the technology that was created by white people that allowed us to win the war. And we fought for.
Okay, now catch what he said earlier when he called the Italian guy the white guy. He said, "I'm not white." He said, "I'm Italian." But now he's saying we. He's saying we, including himself, with white people. You see? So they pick and choose when they want to be white and when they want to be Italian. To start the whole dialogue off, he said, "I'm not white. I'm Italian." Now he said he's proud of his, his uniqueness to be Italian. He's not white. Now he's saying us when it comes to white people.
For you, 600,000 people died.
You didn't fight for foundational Black Americans, sir. That wasn't a war for foundational Black Americans. The freeing of Black people came later on,
right?
But that wasn't the purpose of the Civil War. And you know this, sir. Let's be very clear. Every white person knows this.
That's not true. You think all white? I don't even understand why you refer to white as it's one thing. White's not unified in this country.
Yes, it is.
It's not unified at all.
Yes,
I don't know how you can say that.
Yes.
If you look at if you want to take the same logic that you will.
No, you're not going to babble here, sir. Let's go back into history. You're talking about New York had more money. The North benefited from slavery too. The slave trade, a lot of it started really up there in Massachusetts. The financial sector of it New York had slavery, sir. The entire nation
Wow.
benefited
Yeah,
from
that's wild.
foundational Black
Golden Brown.
Americans' free labor. Is that true or not true, sir?
I'm sure there's truth to that. I'm sure there's truth to that, but you also, it's a symbiotic relationship.
No,
You
it's
know,
not.
that's why, you know, at the end of the day, after the Civil War, the freed slaves were offered to go back to Africa and they chose
Actually,
to stay.
okay, but
So, and then they migrated to where they were.
we weren't from Africa. Do you understand that? Let me say that again. Most of us were not from Africa.
Okay. So hold on, because he's going to gaslight Tariq up and down because the dude's not aware of certain history, but it would just, you know, he didn't get it and he couldn't get it. You know, he's as bad as a Kwame. You know what I mean, he as bad as him, but he just don't know like a lot of American history.
But there were also people that chose after the Civil War to go back to Africa in the, what was it, Liberia? That they were going to form some kind of a, you know.
Only a handful of people went to Liberia. Most of us didn't go because we knew we were not from there, sir. The problem is foundational Black Americans built this country.
Red Dog.
And the white supremacists tried to do it by themselves, and they all failed.
You'd have to really prove that. As you're just saying something. I mean, the Union's advantages had to do with their enlarged industrial power.
Okay. So, okay. No. So he's going to come back to that. Let me rewind that one more time.
And the police
Americans built this country. Only a handful of people went to Liberia. Most of us didn't go because we knew we were not from there, sir.
Right.
The problem is,
by the way, and the ones that did go, the 12,000 plus, they were basically forced migrated. Okay, they didn't have a choice. It was they had a choice, but not a choice. That's what's called forced migration. It was either go back to plantation slavery or, you know, have a good time in Liberia. That's not much of a choice.
is foundational Black Americans built this country, and the white supremacists tried to do it by themselves, and they all failed.
You'd have to really prove that. As you're just saying.
Okay, so he's going to come back and prove that, and he's going to return to that in 17 minutes, longer on our clock because I'm doing reaction. But just keep that in mind. He's going to come back and speak to that.
Something. I mean, the Union's advantages had to do with their enlarged industrial power and the political skills of its leaders.
Do you understand? Before 1619, they tried to set up other European colonies in North America. Are you aware of that?
Before 1619, sure.
Yes. Do you know which ones they are? I know. I want to see if you know.
There was Spain. There was the Portuguese were here before 1619.
And yes, they were. They came 1526. They had San Miguel del Guadape over in South Carolina, and French. They failed.
Right. And guess who was here in 1492? Columbus. And what the hell was his name? The one that we named America after? The Italian?
Amerigo Vespucci.
There you go.
And do you know the name Amerigo? That's not as.
Yeah, I was a proud Italian who's supposed to be schooling Tariq on Italian history, don't know the name of Amerigo Vespucci. And he's supposed to be schooling a Black American foundational. Don't know the names of his, that's crazy.
His real name.
Yeah, that's like us struggling over the name Dr. King. Like, yeah, Dr. Malik King Jr. It's like, are you serious?
He named himself after a Black tribe down in Panama.
Well, there you go. Let's bring the Italians and the Blacks together.
Okay. Sir, you're welcome. For us, foundational Black Americans, helping to bring a lane for you to come over and your family to come over from Italy to survive over here and thrive.
You had nothing.
Okay, so let me speak to the labor fights that you were speaking to. So Foundation Black Americans, we also fought for labor rights, okay? But it was in segregated unions, right? We were excluded from most unions, like the AFL early on. We were put into the lowest paying, most dangerous jobs. We formed our own unions and cooperatives, all right? So Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, A. Philip Randolph was a major black-led labor movement, and I'm probably the only person we heard that name from, and even to go deep into his history, his activism. Okay, the Black Americans had to fight both racism and capitalism, while Italians were gradually absorbed into whiteness and union protections. Okay, but why were labor laws passed? Okay, they were passed due to massive multi-racial pressure and federal intervention. So it was everybody, not just Italians. You had Jews and not even Black Americans. You had everybody in there, all right? So the Wagner Act of 1935 was passed. It gave workers the right to unionize. Fair Labor Standards Act 1938 set minimum wage and banned child labor. OSHA, something we know today, 1970, ensured safe working conditions. And these were not passed by Italians alone. They were passed because of decades of pressure from all working class people, the rise of socialist and progressive movements, federal recognition of worker unrest threatening national stability. Okay, so many Italian Americans also opposed integration and union solidarity with blacks. Okay, so they opposed it. So while Italian workers often opposed black inclusion in their unions, many joined segregated locals and reinforced the color line. In cities like Chicago, Boston, New York, Italians clashed with black communities over jobs and housing. All right? So that's a lie. The Italian workers were part of the labor fight, but they didn't write the laws, didn't lead the movement, and certainly did not fight for FBA's rights. In fact, many helped uphold segregation inside unions. So he can't rewrite history to claim solidarity that never existed.
Nothing to do with with the cities. We made the cities for you. I don't know what you're talking about.
Sir, you could
we paved the way for you. You all moved to the cities. You had to flee the South because they were going to fucking run you over.
Sir.
So you came to the cities and you took jobs from the Irish. You took jobs from the Italians. We paved the way for you.
Sir. You couldn't even pave the way for yourself in Italy. That's why you got on a boat with $3 and they called you wops because you didn't even have paperwork. This is just a guinea without papers, and they called you wops.
Williams.
You didn't even have paperwork. Y'all hopped on anything that was floating to get over here,
yeah,
sir.
Mike Martin.
You couldn't even pave the way for your damn self. How you gonna pave the way for us?
I already I mean, you're going to deny the influence of Italian Americans in this country.
Yes, you didn't do
what you're trying to tell me right now.
You didn't do a damn thing for us.
Half of black culture right now has...
Stop it. But flood our community.
All right. So he's trying to change the subject. But let me answer that. Okay, so he claims that foundational Black Americans didn't build cities, and Italians and Irish did. Okay, so now obviously this is fake news. It's fact. It's factual. That's a lie. So foundational Black Americans were foundational in building American cities and infrastructure, especially in the South and urban North. Okay, so before the Great Migration, 1600s to 1800s, enslaved labor built major southern cities: Charleston, South Carolina, New Orleans, LA, Savannah, GA. Okay, we built infrastructure: roads, levees, bridges, plantations, canals. Okay, the enslaved people helped construct the White House and U.S. Capitol. Now, that was before. During the Great Migration, 1910s to 1970s, foundation Black Americans built northern cities by working in steel mills, Pittsburgh, Gary, Chicago, building railroads, sanitation systems, public housing, serving as domestic workers, janitors, laborers, masons, porters, cooks, founding entire Black communities like Bronzeville, Chicago, Harlem, NYC, Black Bottom, Detroit. But Italians and Irish were immigrants who came after enslavement, okay, was already abolished. Okay, so they came after 1868. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, labor was Black Americans and Irish. So they shared the labor with us. They didn't replace us. Okay. A little fact checking.
Communities with drugs, if we want to go there, you flooded Black areas with drugs, and then stole the number running game. It was black people who created the numbers game that the Italian mafia latched onto to get money. Who influenced who, sir?
The black people didn't even come to New York City
Black,
until
sir,
1915
it was
for the
black
first time.
people.
No,
It was
they took
black,
from the Italians.
black
Prohibition
people
was
stopped. Black people
This dude's a fool.
were in New York in the 1600s documented. Black people
Yeah,
have been in New
dude is
York
lying.
from the very beginning, sir.
Yeah, tether,
You're just
Italian tether.
spewing troll nonsense. Black people were always in New York. Black
Yeah,
people
he's
been in
bugging.
New York, and the mafia took the numbers game from foundational black Americans. The Jones brothers out of Chicago, Bumpy Johnson, all of these people, sir, you really need to understand.
Listen, if you go look at pictures of New York City in 1900s, it's all white faces, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. Look at a
Because
census, look at images and pictures. It's all
I,
white slums that were Irish and Italian. There were no labor laws under the Industrial Revolution, and those labor laws were made by Italian Americans, my friend.
So we already debunked that. He straight lied.
So if you can't respect that, then you're disrespecting. I think it's time the Italians need to come back together, to be honest, in this country and form a group, because I can see that that's the only way right now that people are actually getting respect. You know, you got to come in numbers. And if I get, I'm just me right now. This is what you do for a living. I'm just up late on whatever night it is. You know what I mean? Let me start getting all the Italian Americans. The American government never spent more money than to lock up Italian Americans. Not black people, Italian Americans. They spent $200 million to dismantle the mafia. So don't start talking to me about what goes on.
Then why should they have not dismantled organized crime, sir?
Yo, he just said, he kept going back to shoot himself in the foot. He said, yeah, man, the government, they dismantled the mafia. They did us wrong. So Tariq was like, why shouldn't they not dismantle an organized crime scheme? Why would we let that go on? Like, so that's so natural to them that it's just a way of life. Like, there's nothing wrong with bootlegging liquor, selling drugs and exploiting people, this whole mafia stuff. But he keep mentioning it as though this is normal, and he kept getting cooked. One more time.
People, Italian Americans. They spent $200 million to dismantle the mafia. So don't start.
He said they spent $200 million to dismantle the mafia. So his argument was, let me back up. He kept argument.
I can see that that's the only way. So if you can't respect that, then you're disrespecting. I think it's time the Italians need to come back together, to be honest, in this country and form a group, because I can see that that's the only way right now that people are actually getting respect. You got to come in numbers. And if I'm just me right now. This is what you do for a living. I'm just up late on whatever night it is. You know what I mean? Let me start getting all the Italian Americans. The American government never spent more money than to lock up Italian Americans.
Okay, so he said the American government never spent as much money to lock up folks than Italian Americans. Now, he said Italian Americans. Now, watch he switch his language to the mafia.
Black people, Italian Americans. They spent $200 million to dismantle the mafia. So don't start talking to me about what.
$200 million to dismantle the mafia. Dude, you just said it was Italian Americans. Are you implying Italian Americans are all mafioso? This is just wild logic.
Goes on.
Then why should they have not dismantled organized crime, sir?
Why are you fighting for criminals that are black to not go to jail?
What criminals have I fought for, sir?
So you're okay with black criminals going to jail?
Sir, your racist trolling is running out.
I'm not trolling at all. Don't try to turn me into a troll. Everything I'm saying is
now your racist white supremacist trolling is coming all the way out because you failed. You come from a failed culture in Italy. Y'all were failing in Italy. You came over here to the country foundational black Americans built it. You're talking about some dam you built New York, and the ruins of Rome are still over there in Rome. Y'all didn't even clean Rome up. It's still in ruins. Why don't you fix the ruins of Rome?
Uh-oh.
You know, it's funny how you think one thing is like for there's so many different pieces of everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
there's pieces of rubble
Oh, yeah,
all
that
on
New
the
York
ground
accent is
in
disgusting.
Italy. I've been all over Italy. Y'all don't even fix the Tower of Pisa. Y'all didn't even fix that shit. It's still leaning.
Somebody said that in the chat.
Very funny.
Talking
Very
about
funny.
Yeah, Andy Williams, I'm with you.
Dude, let me ask you a question. Why did
you ain't asked me nothing? You talking about what you done built? Let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
he's trying to change the subject.
Not only was it foundational Black.
Wait, I wish he would have been held. I wish he would have held him more. Why shouldn't the American government spend $200 million to dismantle a violent criminal organization like the Mafia? He let him off the hook right there. I wanted an answer for that one.
Americans saving you. Even before foundational Black Americans, you're Italian. It was the Moors who saved you too. It was the Black Moors who came over there and got you out of squalor. You were about to die over there. Y'all over there disease ridden. Y'all had the Black Plague, the Justinian Plague. There were dozens of plagues hitting over there. It was the Black Moors who came over there bringing alcohol and chemicals and things over there to clean that place up. So you doubly owe Black people a thank you.
How far are you going to go back to try
all
to
the way
make
back?
I mean, come on.
All the way back. You owe
let's get a little more relevant. Let's talk about
You owe foundational Black Americans and you owe the Moors for saving you because y'all were dying off over there, especially Italy. Y'all were dying the hell off.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's pretty obvious that the rappers are mostly the most influential Black Americans, and they wear all Gucci and Italian designers. They took the word yo from Italians. They took the whole gangster image that Italians made cool. So it's like, let's talk about what's happening right now.
Okay, let's talk about what's happening.
Let's talk about how
they
continue to be influenced by.
Nobody's influenced by you. The only gangster that you have is that you're connected with law enforcement because of your whiteness. So you're not gangster. You've never been gangster. All the whole tough guy, yo, paisan talk. The only thing you had, the only advantage was your proximity to whiteness, your ability to be protected by your whiteness, which is a form of welfare. Whiteness and white supremacy is welfare for white people. That's what you benefited for.
Now, white supremacists hate Italians. I don't know what you're talking about. They hate Italians. They hate Catholics. They hate Jews.
Stop it.
What are you talking about?
Italians are not some other group. You're a white.
Yes, they are.
No,
they were turned white, and there's still plenty of Black people I know that consider Italians Black.
Wait, see, now he's back Italian. So he was Italian when he first called in. Don't call him white, call him Italian. But once they start to speak about the Union versus the Confederates, and then all of a sudden he's white again. He's saying we, and now he's back Italian. This guy's crazy.
So you never heard.
So he's selectively put on his armor of whiteness and then taking it off.
You play the denial of whiteness game. When it's very convenient, y'all try to play this denial of whiteness. I'm not white, I'm Italian. I'm not white, I'm Spanish.
I just said it.
I'm not white, I'm Irish. So y'all try to play this 3-card Monte game. When it's convenient, it's called temporary denial of whiteness. I talk about that in my book. That's an old white supremacist trick. Oh, I'm not white. I couldn't possibly be a white supremacist. Man,
right.
I'm Cherokee.
Right.
Are you mixed with Cherokee too, buddy?
I didn't say I wasn't white. What I'm saying is there's a difference between people that became white and white supremacists. And the white supremacists don't like Catholics. They don't like Italians. They don't like Jews. They don't like Jews more than they don't.
And every single one of you who have differences don't like Black people. That's the commonality that you all have. So I don't give a damn what type of differences you have among family.
With each other. Yeah,
all of you get on code against Black people. So that's my concern. So you all white enough. I don't give a damn what level of whiteness you are.
Yeah, golden.
Y'all all get together and get on the same anti-Black page. So that's the problem that I have, sir.
All right. Wait.
Are you here, Mr. Scarface?
I'm here. As soon as I'm unmuted, I'll speak.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, dude, I could make a documentary about how Italian Americans had helped Black Americans. You had Sinatra and Dean Martin that opened up doors for entertainment. You have the Jews.
Yeah, listen, you make that documentary. It better just be about Sinatra because that thing gonna flop.
that opened up all kind of doors for Black platforms. Actually, the father of the jazz guitar is an Italian guy who used to play with Lonnie Johnson in the 1920s. There's so many stories I could get into with you, but we don't
I
have
don't
time
think
to
you
get
can.
into all that. And, I haven't really prepared for all that.
Foundational Black Americans created every single music genre over here, dude. Stop it. Just stop it.
There was no music, is what you're trying to tell me, before America, right? There was no classical music. There was no drums that go all the way back to China.
The drums, the modern.
Yeah, that's that New York accent. It's tough. It's tough to deal with. Like that, and some immigrant accents be tough, but that New York accent is definitely tough to like tolerate, especially when they're like complaining or rambling and babbling. Ugh.
Drums that people use now, the sit-down drums, that was created by foundational Black Americans.
The drum goes back to China.
The sit-down drum, sir.
There's a whole, but percussion. It's all about percussion,
sir. There were drums in Africa that go back millions of years, sir.
So then, how come they're not making the music in Africa? Why'd they have to do it here?
They are making music in Africa.
They didn't make the blues and jazz in Africa. They did it in America
because
with white people. We're white people, with Jews and Italians.
Oh, we're foundational.
Oh my God, Claude, 100%, bro. All of them.
We made the music. Foundational Black Americans, sir. We made that. Well, hell, you didn't make no damn blues or R&B and none of that stuff. Foundational Black Americans made that, sir.
They did, but they did it here in America with other white people.
Sir, this is a country we built. This is our country, sir. This is a foundational Black American country. This is our homeland, sir. This is not your homeland. You're an immigrant. I'm not.
No, you migrated to the cities. You're not from the cities.
Oh,
you were never from the cities. You followed the lanes that
we founded many of the cities in this country, sir. Los Angeles was founded by Black people. Buffalo was founded by Black people. Chicago was founded by a Black person. We settled many of these cities. Sir, you don't know history.
Yeah. Hold on.
Chicago was a Haitian guy. I thought Haitian.
Hold on. Lord says Italians just gave us pizza, spaghetti, lasagna, cannolis, not civil rights. Exactly, yeah. He got cut. He was hoping that worked. He was probably trying that with his Black friends, his quote unquote Black friends, and he got somewhere, probably at the gym or at work, and they were like, "Oh wow, Tony is smart."
Haitians were immigrants.
So he called in.
That brother was one of our riders. He's still Black.
Okay, but he was an immigrant, wasn't he?
He's still Black.
He was an immigrant guy.
He's Black.
He was an. Let me tell you something. Immigrants make the flavor in this country.
Okay. So family, don't fall for that too. What they try to do. So when they can't get anywhere, they try to turn us against immigrants who are not feathers. Don't fall for that.
Could make the flavor in Italy, dude. If you make the flavor in the country, why didn't you make the flavor in Italy? Why are y'all sitting over there struggling in Italy right now, sir?
I don't know who you think's struggling. Literally the strongest mafias in the world are all Southern Italy, Calabria, Naples, and Sicily.
Family, he's going back to his biggest trophy. The thing he hangs his hat on the most is the Mafia and the legal criminal organization.
They have Can you make the flavor in Italy? Why are y'all sitting over there struggling in Italy right now, sir?
I don't know who you think's struggling. Literally the strongest mafias in the world are all Southern Italy. Calabria, Naples, and Sicily have the strongest mafias in the world.
So you have to hang your hat on criminality. That's the problem right there. If your claim to fame is being an organized criminal, that shows how degenerate your mindset is, and you're not qualified to maintain a civilized society, sir. That's why you had to flee and come over here among the foundational Black Americans who are the moral compass of this country, sir.
No, we had to flee from oppression, from dictators.
Oh,
that's what.
I get it. How you doing? Yeah, well, I mean, but if you're a dictator, come on.
We had to flee from.
Sound like them Nigerians. It's the government. Oh, the government, nigga. The government.
Listen, Black Americans fled too. They fled the
government.
South,
The
Tariq. Stop
government.
lying to yourself. You fled the South
Stop it.
because you were getting fucking ran over,
We
guy.
fled the
You
South. This is
couldn't
our
fucking
country.
survive over there.
Dude, this is still our country. What do you mean we fled the South? And let's be very clear. There were black people getting lynched in the North too. Yeah, we were getting lynched. We were getting lynched, dude. They were murdering us with impunity. So yeah, we're gonna go to the next place so we don't get killed, and we're less than 12% of the population at the time. We were getting killed. People were waging
Outnumbered.
warfare on foundational Black America.
That's what they don't get. Like, listen, you gotta understand. Most people who flee, they are part of the dominant society. And for whatever reason, things didn't go right and they had to leave. Like, even the Italians. He fled Italy. Like, dude, y'all all Italians. Slovenia, y'all all Slavic. You dig? So he's Irish. They're all from Ireland. Like, they're fleeing each other. Okay, we're seeking a safe zone in our country that we built from people who are not of our own, and they are the overwhelmingly majority. At that time, probably 85%, 88, 90% of folks in America was probably white people. So, you know, seeking safety from a overwhelmingly majority like that is just common sense. But we didn't go to Liberia. We didn't go to Ireland, Italy, the UK, and we could have went to Canada. We didn't go to Canada.
But we still said, hey, we're going to still fight back in many cases, which we did. We still chose to fight back.
Right.
We didn't leave the country. You talking like the South is a different country. This is still a country we pay taxes in, buddy. We didn't immigrate nowhere. Talking about fleeing the South, that's not immigrating to another place. We're still in the same landmass where our taxes are circulating.
Right.
You got y'all asses up out of Italy and bounced and left
Your
that
homeland
shit behind and came
you
on
make
over
up
here
the
eating
majority
off
of the
us.
people. Damn, everybody's probably Italian.
We started coming here in the 1880s, so it was right after slavery was over, and the cities weren't even built yet.
Yeah, dude, y'all was still classified as Sicilians because Italy didn't even become a nation state until around that time too. So, dude, you new boogie, as we say. You one of these brand new niggas.
Oh God, please! Like I said, you came to our cities that we built and that we paved ways for you.
Dude,
that's a fact.
How is it?
Oh, hold on. Let me. Okay, so here we got busted in a lie. They ain't paved nothing for us. All right, so let me read some chats. Let's interact with the chat. The chat is litty. FBA Big Red Dog said he mad now, family. Claude said fled the South. Your granddaddy nurse said fleeing to the South is different from fleeing to another country. Come on now. Yeah, Jamaican Dream tried that argument over here, and I set him up. Oh, it was beautiful. He was like, oh, you researched it? Yeah, I cooked him. They never have a good moment over here. MD Williams says, this is what we get when folks are trying hard to deny us of our proper standing. And Ricardo Flott says, bring the Prego sauce all the way out of them. Yep. These MS clause says, flee an entire country. All we doing is moving from state to state. Right. These guys coming from a whole new landmass they've never been before. Okay. They didn't put nothing in onto that place. As Smokey said, you didn't put in on this, man. They put nothing in on America. Okay, now I don't know how I end up highlighting all these words. I'm trying to read the chat. I may think I highlighted the words. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get some more comments. From state to state is called migration, not immigration, right? So what's up with this? Maneuver, salute. He says the South to the North is still United States, right? The dudes be just, now you see where these guys, these Kwames get their argument from. They watch these guys and they, oh, that makes sense. And they borrow these arguments from these white supremacists and they come and test it out over here. Some of us went to Canada, yeah, but small, tiny percentage. Just like we went to Liberia, small, tiny percentage. Miss Hart, the reason why Italians was dismantled is because they wasn't following the program. Plus, they are not pure. Yeah, that was inevitable. Oh, some Olive Garden though. Yeah, it's good. It's good food. Like we already did a top 5 food dish, right? Most of us had soul food number 1, and when it came to 2, 3, 4, 5, we had mixed results. I believe mine was like soul food number 1. I'm just going to freestyle, and I think I had Chinese number 2. Okay, and I don't know if it's Jamaican or Italian number 3, but let's just say Jamaican. Italian number 4, number 5 was, what was number 5? Number 5 was, oh, okay, no. I know it now. No, Mexican food was number 3. It was soul food, Chinese, Mexican, Jamaican, and then Italian. So that was my 5 favorite, international dishes and national dishes. All right, yeah, Mexican number 3. And shit, it might have Chinese got it. And when I see Chinese, I'm low key also adding in Thai food. You dig? Because they're kind of like similar. Thai food might be better quality sometimes, but I'm kind of adding them both together. If you say Thai, to me that's still like Chinese. All right.
Immigrant gonna claim a city in a country that.
But that's what happened. Who created who?
We've been in these cities.
Yeah, Mexican number 3.
We were already in these cities, dude. You trying to rewrite history? We were already. What city weren't we in? We were in New York. What are you talking?
So there's no such thing as the Great Migration,
we
right?
were in New York.
Yeah, dude, and I think this is the same. Yeah, it's funny. It's almost like Making Dream had watched this or heard this dude speak before, because he couldn't have watched this. It was debunked. But he said the same thing. Like, he didn't know that we were here before the Great Migration. Not just him. It was a guy from the Ivory Coast. He didn't know that we were here before the Great Migration. He didn't know that there was enslaved and FBAs in the North. They don't know that. So Mr. Freeze, peace. Let me see what Mr. Freeze said. Okay, muck, peace for you. Mr. Freeze said, they're all mad because we, FBA, are America, right? If we weren't here, it would be like that as Scotland, Greenland, Europe in general. The reason everyone comes here is because we made the flavor. Yep. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. The food is good. Like, we're not mad at the culture. We're not mad at the ethnic group. We're mad at their tether class. Like, I'm not saying every Italian is bad. No, we only call out the ones who are bad. When we get wind of you, we call you out. And we want the good ones to call out the bad ones as well. If they don't do that, then we got to lump them up all together. That's real simple. Like, in our neighborhoods, we don't support crime and drug dealing, and we call the cops on drug dealers and gang members. They robbing a car. We on 911 trying to be disclosed. Like, no, I don't know. My name, don't worry about it. Just come to 3rd Street and Park Ave and come down. He's wearing blue. That's what we do. Nobody want no robber in the neighborhood. Golden Brown said, wait, let me back up. April's Jewel said, they all come here and want to get under us, but yeah, we lazy. Time with $1 trillion GDP. Yeah, they bugging. Lord Mall says there was an Italian restaurant off on 316 near the Gwinnett County Jail called Latinos. They had some. Yeah, they got some good food. That's why I got it in my top 5. I ain't gonna be lying. Golden Brown said he was holding it. Golden Brown says he was holding it on American Dream channel. Yeah, he had to. I think he responded. FBA Big Red Dog said, hell nah. That's where he got triggered. Tariq easily debunked. Yeah. He killed all those weak talking points that they talk about in their little enclaves. Flowers Galore says, lazy immigrants. Stick in my head. Had everybody trying to use us as they come on. Yeah, come on, stop it.
What's the Great Migration?
It's a Chef Boyardee dish. So we were already
Right, I know.
we were in
That was
Chicago.
funny.
I mean, dude, if you want to ignore facts, then, you know, like I said, I think you're an interesting guy and you have a great way.
You're babbling. Stop it. And stop with the tough guy. I hate when a lot of y'all be trying to act like that. Yo, it's tough. Yeah, man, your whiteness protects you. You guys are weenies. You're a goddamn weenie. Your whiteness protects you. You fall into the system of white supremacy. You're not fucking tough.
Yeah, they be killing me with that.
Foundation of Black Americans, we're tough because we have to go against the militarized government. That's tough. We're less than 12% of the population, and we don't have the cloak of whiteness to help us out. When we feel injustice, we don't get on a boat with $3 and flee like bitches. We stand here and stand strong and fight against oppression. And you could never be that.
You fled you ran away from the South.
Stop with that.
Yeah, he's back on that.
And then why are there so many black people in the South still? There's plenty of black people in the South.
Yeah, I know, but there was a great migration,
Rodney,
and they
Harlem.
ran away from it. And when you talk about fighting the government, nobody...
Stop all that. Black people are...
Okay, let me just salute Rodney Holland. He says, how the hell is everyone's blocking our progress and are against FBAs? Yeah, do the math, says Pink's supremacy. Check. yeah, funny. Yeah, dude got cooked all the entire phone call, and now he just trolling now.
Still in the South, and there were black people who never left. You acting like black people just bounced away from the South. There's some who went to the North because this is our country. And
this dude is crazy. When you out here in the South, all you see is black people, and these are black Americans. You ain't gonna see too many like international black stores out here.
Many black people and most black people stayed in the South. They didn't run. If we want to talk about fleeing, we stayed in the South. So what you talking about?
Well, yeah,
says,
it's not as bad as you make it out to be. That's why. So, but the reality is that, listen, if white people didn't form this nation, if we get taken over by China tomorrow or the Middle...
Now, here go these hypotheticals. So, like, this is the Italian tether version of the black tether. It says, if we get pulled over, they ain't going to ask for ID and see who is who by our names. Okay, so this is the Italian way of saying that.
So what you talking about?
Well, yeah, because it's not as bad as you make it out to be. That's why. So, but the reality is that, listen,
but
if white people didn't form this nation, if we get taken over by China tomorrow or the Middle East, nobody gives a fuck about what you're saying right now, bro. So you should be fucking worshiping white people right now because we're actually listening to you and fucking, making things happen for black people. Let fucking China take over. You think they're going to give a fuck what you have to say right now? Dude, foundational black, they don't give a fuck.
But if it weren't for us building the nation for free, you would be in Europe somewhere with head lice eating potatoes.
That's a fact, though. That sounds harsh, but
like I said, you want to make a comedy show, make a comedy show. The reality is that Italian Americans...
Let's talk real. I'm talking real. If it weren't for us, you would still be over there in Italy somewhere cannibalizing each other, which is what they were doing here. Let's be clear. They were over here cannibalizing each other. Your ancestors, they were coming over here when they start starving. They just started eating each other. That happened in Virginia, North Carolina, down in St.
Now, that's either true or false. And let's see if he objects to that.
In Florida, when they tried to set up a colony down there, they didn't know how to create an agrarian society on their own. So they looked at the next guy and said, hey, nigga, you look tasty. Even when they went out west, sir, we know about the Dharma Party and all.
Like the Bugs Bunny cartoon, like the one guy looked like a hamburger and the other guy looked like a hot dog.
All those people, whatever the name is, the Dharma Party. But when they were going west, they were getting stuck out there and saying, hey, well, shit, there's no food, but you look like a snack. Oh, thank you. No, bitch, you look like a real snack. And they started eating each other. That's your history, sir.
I mean, look, Tariq, I respect your hustle.
Now, you see, he didn't say anything to that. See, he's hoping that we don't know their history. So, like, tell us.
Said so, but that story has no relevance to what we're talking about right now.
We're talking history because you're talking about
deflecting.
You're talking about what we should be thankful to you, and when we're not around, y'all start cannibalizing each other, and we should be thankful. When black folks aren't around, y'all get all types of diseases over there in Europe and start falling out, and your arms and asses is falling off. And we got to be thankful to you, really?
What I just said was that it was white people that started this country, that started this whole process. So if we get taken over by China tomorrow or any other country, nobody gives a fuck about what you're saying. It's this country that allows you to say what you're saying because we fight for you. We go to war against other countries. We fight for this. You keep talking about white supremacy like it's not as something that it's not what it is.
Okay.
You're talking about white people.
Okay.
You say, oh, because I see people.
Wait, stop your goddamn babbling. Is there white supremacy or not? Because your white forefathers said there was white supremacy. Why did they say that?
Yes, the KKK organization.
And no, Thomas Jefferson, the people in the Confederate, it wasn't the KKK. It was the top white people, the Andrew Jacksons. These people were using terms like white supremacy. Even in the Taney Supreme Court decision, they were using terms like white supremacy, black inferiority in documents. Why did they use those terms? These are not some fringe groups. We're talking about leaders here and documents in the Supreme Court. Why did they use the term white supremacy then?
Because at that moment in time, which was hundreds of years ago, that was the perception at that particular time, the same way that you think you're superior now to African immigrants.
So when, see, you're not going to troll. So when did they stop practicing white supremacy? What year, sir?
First of all, there was plenty of founding fathers that were not only against slavery, but they didn't own any slaves.
Stop. I said white supremacy. Abraham Lincoln didn't own slaves, but he believed in the supremacy of the white race. What year did white supremacy stop? So when did they stop practicing white supremacy?
Yeah, I forgot to ask that black conservative that I debated. So I'm gonna do a part 2 with him though. You dig? I'm gonna do a part 2 with him. He likes to do morning debates around 10 a.m., 10, 11 a.m. But I should have asked him that.
Do you believe in just the concept?
I asked your silly ass a question, and I want you to answer, and I'm not going to allow you to deflect. What year? Because you've acknowledged that white supremacy was established. So I'm going to ask you, what year did they stop practicing white supremacy systematically in this country? Let's try it again, sir.
Well, you're mixing and matching all these different things. You tell me, because I need you to clarify your point.
He said, I need to clarify your point. Hey, y'all, listen, family, if any one of you guys were brainwashed to think that white people are inherently smart, that they're born with a smart gene, listening to Jared Taylor, right? This is proof that's false. This dude said, well, you tell me the answer so I can clarify your point. Yeah, that was like the most dumbest way to say I don't know. My man said, you tell me the answer so I can clarify your. Look, you give me the answer I don't know so I can help you understand the answer. You know, this.
You tell me when
year, because you've acknowledged that white supremacy was established. So I'm going to ask you, what year did they stop practicing white supremacy systematically in this country? Let's try it again, sir.
Well, you're mixing and matching all these different things. You tell me, because I need you to clarify your point. You tell me who said this term, white supremacy, and who said black inferiority.
Okay. If he said, I need you to clarify your point. It's still stupid.
Who said that?
Sir?
No, you said something. Let's get specific. Who said it?
Thomas Jefferson has a book called Letters.
Okay, guess what? Not everybody agreed with Thomas Jefferson. Okay?
So what was the point of asking who said it? Just to say that. That was not smart. That was not smart. Like, he acted like he just didn't believe that could be said. And he was going to concede. Now you get an answer. It's, well, it's not, it doesn't matter. It's the point that it was established, you dig, and it was recognized and acknowledged as a real thing.
Makes this country unique.
But
Other white people fought.
they did agree with him because they elected him president, and they still worship him, and he's still on currency
Electing
to
him
this
president.
day.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So they do accept him. What are you talking about?
I said that there were other
President
Americans
Patty.
at the time. He was president for however long he
Majestic.
was president, then he was gone. There were other ideas that came after him. And there was
Yeah, but
also,
which one
he's a
ended
complicated
systemic
person.
racism?
There's also things that he did that were valuable to you.
Abraham Lincoln, sir, said he believed the supremacy of the white race. If you want to Google that right now, you can look that up now. The Supreme Court decision, Taney versus Dred Scott, or the Judge Taney, the Dred Scott decision. You can look that up now and find out what
1867.
they said about white supremacy and black inferiority. This is a document that's on record.
Right. But the Italian immigrants and the
He said
Jewish
right.
immigrants and the Irish immigrants that were treated like shit helped to fight for you. And that's what helped the movement begin.
You've never fought for foundational black
Yeah, the dude is gonna repeat the
Americans.
lie over and
The
over and
only
over.
thing Italians did for foundational black Americans was put drugs in our community
Right.
and take the numbers racket from the black people who created it.
They did not take the numbers record. That's ridiculous. There was
Yes, they
prohibition
did.
in 1920. The blacks were barely in the cities at that
Yes,
time.
they did.
They came to the cities.
They got the numbers racket from black people. This is very well documented. They got the numbers racket from black people. Black people were doing the numbers racket, and the Italians got that from black people. Look up the Jones brothers. Please understand history, sir. This is why you need to learn. If you don't
We're
know,
not talking about a numbers game. Who cares about numbers? That's little boy
okay,
shit.
okay. See, now you're just dancing and dipping.
All right. Listen, let's go back. So Tariq Nasheed asked him, if white folks were so great at building stuff, then why did they come to America and fail, right? Without any help. When they try to do it themselves, why did they fail? And don't forget, this is before the 1600s, because the 1600s, they brought our ancestors over here to get it done the right way, in the real way. So check this out. So, disease. Europeans lacked immunity to tropical diseases in Africa and Asia, especially malaria and yellow fever. How about this? African and Asian resistance. Early expeditions were often repelled by strong kingdoms, Mali, Congo, Benin, Ethiopia, etc. Logical limits. Before the 1500s, Europe lacked the ships, guns, and navigation tools to travel or conquer overseas. Navigation. Until the 15th century, ocean travel was dangerous. Maps were incomplete. Most European trade was local. Okay? Empires were weak. Before the Renaissance, Europe was fragmented, feudal states. Crusades, plague, the Islamic world, China, and West Africa were more advanced. Oh, that hurts. Okay, so what did they accomplish pre-1600s? The Portuguese colonized Madeira, Azores, Canary Islands, mid-1400s. Spain began colonizing Caribbean and Latin America post-1492. Small force trading posts in North Africa and coastal West Africa. But most of Africa and Asia remained independent and strong. That debunks they were coming to Africa, kidnapping, stealing, all these words that they use. I'm talking, when I say they now, I'm not speaking about white supremacists. I'm speaking about tethers and Afro-maniacs. Okay, act like it was never a slave trade. No, Africa was strong. Asia was strong. They weren't going nowhere. Give me, it's mine, for 400 years. Stop it. Resulting into millions of, are you serious? So foundational black Americans didn't just migrate to cities. We helped build them before and after Italians and Irish even got here. And please let's not forget that European empires couldn't even conquer Africa until the 1800s because those kingdoms were too powerful. Oh, that hate, that hurts. That hurts for white supremacists to hear that. The real building came from stolen labor, not volunteer immigration. Oh, that hurts. The Berlin Conference family was 1892. That's when he was able to finally go in and make it bow down. Okay? But these guys were unsuccessful. And remember, he talked about the pictures, how you look in early New York, you'll see a whole bunch of white people. Like, is this fool crazy? Does he not know the time frame at that time? That was Jim Crow at his height. Why would they take pictures? Why would they take photos of themselves and leave a foundation Black American in the photo? Like, they looked at us like nothing, right? Why would they? Why? Of course, they whitewashed the photo, or they made sure that we were not in the photo. That's just dumb. Why would a white photographer who's racist as hell take a picture of white Harlem or white whoever and include some foundation Black Americans? They're like, yo, get out the damn photo. You dig? But obviously, foundation Black Americans absolutely lived in New York in the 1900s. By 1900, there were over 60,000 FBA residents in New York City, 60,000. Neighborhoods like San Juan Hill, Lincoln Square, and Harlem, which would become the cultural epicenter of the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s, already had growing foundational Black populations, okay? Black foundational New Yorkers were photographed, like I said, but mainstream archives controlled by white newspapers and institutions often excluded us from the curated public imagery. It's just stupid, bonehead white supremacy talking points. All right. Yeah, so I think I go. But next he would say there's no Black cowboys. He might as well just keep going. But anyway, there were foundation Black Americans in New York since the 1600s. So somebody actually said that in the chat. So we were there since the 1600s, enslaved by the Dutch and British. Okay. In the 1800s, NYC had foundation Black American dock workers, barbers, builders, and businessmen. Right. By the 1900s, now come the Caribbean immigrants coming in too, paving the way for Pan-Africanist activism, including Marcus Garvey's UNI movement. It's interesting because they give credit to Pan-Africanism to Caribbean immigrants. Study, man, you got to watch what you sip. Then that Kool-Aid is deadly. Okay, so he wants to like rely on pictures that are whitewashed to prove a point. That's goofy. That's goofy. Okay. So why did the Irish even come to America in the first place? Because they talk about that. So it was about famines and agricultural collapse. Okay. So a lot of us know about the potato crop failures, like Ireland, Southern Italy had periodic crop failures leading to hunger and malnutrition. Okay, they had grain crisis in the late 1800s. Competition from cheap American grain caused widespread unemployment among Italian farmers. They had a devastating insect, Phylloxera. It destroyed vineyards, crippling the wine economy in southern Italy. Okay, but then you had the Mount Vesuvius eruption in 1906. It devastated farmlands around Naples. Then we had Messina earthquake and tsunami in 1908 killed over 100,000 people in Sicily and Calabria, leaving many homeless and jobless. Okay, so southern Italy was dominated by a feudal land-owning aristocracy. Okay, where peasants worked for low wages or as sharecroppers. Briganti. After unification, the new Italian government taxed after unification, the new Italian government taxed the South heavily, worsening rural poverty. This is their own people. Industrial jobs were scarce. Most southern regions had almost no factories compared to the north. Okay, then after unification, the South faced military crackdowns on peasant uprisings, the so-called bridging wars. Corruption, lack of infrastructure, and lawless conditions. Lawless conditions. It gave rise to the Mafia. and the Mafia made life unstable. Well, lawlessness made life unstable, and the Mafia helped oppress their own people. Okay, but what about the overpopulation? So Southern Italy had high birth rates and little land to divide among families. So by the 1880s, land scarcity led to mass migration as families sought work abroad. Northern Italians looked down on Southern Italians. Damn, I didn't know that. Sicilians, yeah, I did. Neapolitans, Calabrians, seeing them as backward. This discrimination mirrored what Italians later feared in America. Many Italians saw America as the land of opportunity, offering jobs in construction, railroads, factories, and mines. Sounds like FBA all over that. What's the number of them, right? So 4 million Italians arrived in the U.S. between 1880 and 1920. I believe there were more of them, or that we were equal in numbers. Most came from southern Italy and Sicily. They settled in cities like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, and New Orleans, taking the hardest labor jobs: dock workers, miners, builders. Okay. So over time, Italians integrated into white America, benefiting from unions, New Deal policies, and post-World War II suburbanation, advantages that foundational Black Americans were denied. All right. So that's putting everything back into context. All right, where we at with the chat? Let's read some chats now. Let's catch up with some chats. Let me see what I got going on. Let me go up a little bit. April's Jewel says, they believe their own lies, that Black people are ignorant and don't value education. Flowers Galore says that's why they always focus on us to take the attention off their dumb, lazy. Yeah, all of them do that, by the way. Pinky Wells says the founding fathers of this country took pictures with our ancestors, but never with the poor whites. Right. That's a good one. Notice that when you look at the old photos. That is a good one. They're the degenerates, 100%. They came as degenerates. Nobody can deny that. Like the early British subjects were degenerates. Like that's undeniable. Okay. And a lot of our island family, they come over here as, degenerates, Latinos, same thing. You see right now, they have crime in Mexico, Venezuela, El Salvador. They're wanted there. They come over here, and the sanctuary cities are protecting them. They just saying, don't commit a crime here. And what do? They go out there DUI driving, right? They get locked up and thrown out the country. And they get caught. Okay. So they were sent in mass by ships, not us, right? Pinky Wells says they came because they were starving, and when they got here, they were starving. The big red dog says FBAs come with receipts. He didn't know just before he called in. Poor little yeah. He learned. Trust me, he felt bad, but he felt good because he knew that when he heard them stories from like his peers and relatives, parents, he knew that was a lie, and he did. And he's hearing that being repeated amongst the youth, and he want to check them, but he don't read. He's not a good researcher, so he don't know how. All right, so let me call in Tariq Radio, because like you said, you respected him as a historian. Let me try this bullshit there, and when I get cooked, I'll just repeat this back and let them know, hey, everything you heard ain't necessarily true. We didn't help out Foundation Black Americans. We helped out ourselves and other whites. Israelite 1865 says whites practice war on each other over 1,000 years. Your granddaddy nurse says indentured servants dropped off to Ellis Island and got free land, and that belonged to us. Those folks, you might be talking about the Homestead Act around there, because Ellis Island was up north. You might be right. I'm not sure, but I know a lot of the land that was distributed to undeserving white people was around the 1860s. But maybe you're right about that, and that'd be new to me if they were given land. But let me say this. Let me read. Flowers Galore said if they didn't have pew-pews, they would have been extinct 500 years ago. Majestic, okay, he responds to somebody else. Judite Warrior, peace. He says, shaking my head. Y'all far too much. This HIT is already flushed. Bro, what up, man? 4 lane. Yeah, I'm late today. I'm trying to find a new time slot because my time slot got taken by other folks and I compete with larger channels. So I might be doing live either like 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock, which I hate, or early, like 8 o'clock a.m. 8:30 a.m. Might be forced to go live then. All right, let's finish it out.
And diving. See, this is why if you need to learn history, just sit down and learn history and don't babble. This is why you failed in Italy, sir, because you weren't listening and learning. This is why you had to come flee and eat off us.
Yeah, they got ducks.
If you listen and learn, maybe you could have built your country up back home, and you wouldn't have the Colosseum still raggedy and everything toe up over there.
Let me do a poll.
Everybody knows the numbers game is little boy shit. We had gambling. We had gambling houses. We had prohibition. You learned from us.
No, we don't want to learn how to be criminals. That's not a good thing.
Right. Mafia.
Nobody wanted to learn how to be criminals.
Organized
Black people,
crime.
for the most part, we tried to walk the straight and narrow for the most part. We didn't want to be degenerates. We're moral people for the most part. We had the civil rights movement. We fought for everybody. Notice everything you brag about in your culture is criminality. Notice that?
Right.
You must have missed half of what I said. I talked about labor laws. I talked about...
That was controlled by the mafia. Those Teamsters, you've always had a criminal element within your culture. You're talking about labor laws. You're talking about the Teamsters, that Jimmy Hoffa, all of that criminal ass stuff that they were doing. They were running rackets, sir. Everything in the culture you're bragging about is all about scamming, rackets, murder, degenerate behavior. Nah, that's not what we want to be about, sir. And that shows the mentality that you have, sir. That's why you failed in your homeland. See, people who have that criminality type of mindset, they're not going to succeed in their homeland. That's why you had to come around moral people in order to thrive. So you're welcome.
Right. Jay-Z didn't succeed, right?
Jay-Z
let me create a poll for y'all. Let me get your opinion.
Right. All the most successful black people, half of them came from the street. What are you talking about?
And
that was the whole point. Italian American.
Yeah, there you go, family. I'm trying to see what's the best time to catch her. Because at 10 a.m. right now ain't going to work just for right now. So in the meantime, I got a poll there. It's asking, like, are y'all more open to an 8:30 a.m. Live show or after 1 o'clock, like around 2 to like 4, something like that?
I would give.
So it's either 8:30 a.m. or a time after 2 o'clock, but before 4.
You that, but we had to get in the streets based on circumstances. A lot of us were forced into the street game based on systematic deprivation. But we got out and we started doing good for ourselves in spite of systematic white supremacy. You were able to be a criminal because of white supremacy, because of corrupt cops and corrupt judges. So you just had a whole degenerate thing going on all around the board.
No, we knew how to organize and get tough.
You knew how to
get tough, be criminal.
You knew how to use your whiteness. You use your whiteness. You got to pass, because the only reason you were able to get away with all of that criminality is because of your
nothing
whiteness.
Tough about that.
The white supremacist code. That's the only thing. Don't act like you were so.
Hey, family. Notice that nobody came here new today. And I'm going to tell you why. It's the likes. Now, I in 3 days, I've had not really said anything about the likes. But I wanted to make a point. 3 days and maybe one person joined live. And we like average like 3, 4, 5 people joining because the likes be up there. We're at like 60. We should at least be at like 90. Big and 90. We're at 60, so that's not going to be in folks' feed to come through and chill out with the lineage.
so tough and you were so this and so that because you didn't do none of it in Italy. You had to come around here to eat
Yeah,
off
he's mad.
foundational Black Americans and get on the white supremacist code in order to come up. And y'all can dance around that all you want to, but white supremacy is an affirmative action program for people who are classified as white. And you know that. And without that system of white supremacy lifting you up and giving you your daily bread, you would be a complete failure.
100%.
You
He
would be
knows
back
that.
over there in Italy, eating some ravioli, picking head lice out of your scalp.
He knows that.
Didn't Madam C.J. Walker actually start a business because she had so much fucking dandruff in her head?
And yeah,
That's why she
he
became
kind
a
of
millionaire.
sounds like
Great question.
And you're talking to me about.
Let me pause it. Okay, so he kind of sounds like this is how you know that tether Quasimodo. I'm not saying the names no more, but Quasimodo. That guy, polka dots. Your life is played out like Kwame and those polka dots. This Italian dude debates just like him. You hit them, you rebuttal them, correct them, educate them, and you just come back with something random and disrespectful without any context. Oh, didn't Madam C.J. Walker listen to this fool?
But code in order to come up. And y'all can dance around that all you want to, but white supremacy is an affirmative action program for people who are classified as white. And you know that. And without that system of white supremacy lifting you up and giving you your daily bread, you would be a complete failure. You would be back over there in Italy, eating some ravioli, picking head lice out of your scalp.
Didn't Madam C.J. Walker actually start a business because she had so much fucking dandruff in her head? That's why she became a millionaire?
Great question.
And you're talking to me about dandruff, bro?
Okay. You know why Madam C.J. Walker's hair was falling out? Because dirty, degenerate white supremacists, after slavery, they were going around the South selling snake oil hair products to Black women with all types of harsh chemicals in them. And Black women were putting this stuff in their heads, and it was making their hair fall out. So Black women like Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker started to go into the woods and go to the root people and get herbs and medicines to create hair grease and hair tonics that would heal their scalps and grow their hair. And these people became millionaires without the help of the white supremacists.
And without creating an illegal, criminal, organized organization, okay? Without creating an organized criminal organization. Got it the right way. Just did natural, fair business. So he got cooked on that too. And that sounds just like Quasimodo. That's something Quasimodo would say. Like he'll hear like what happened to Madam C.J. Walker's head and, oh, I didn't know that. Let me catch Ron off guard with this. And then you get cooked on the history. Why that even happened. Like these guys, like they must be really on 4chan, like website where it just half history about Foundation Black Americans that make us look bad, but all out of context. And they just read stuff. Black folks. And they come to us and get cooked on why that's the reason.
I mean, like I said, you just say whatever I've noticed about you, so you'll just say anything.
And Google what I just said, sir.
I have. It's not what it is. She had a bad scalp problem, and you talk about things with Italian Americans.
Your white brethren were selling people like her bad hair products. Your degenerate ass family was selling Black women harsh chemicals, taking their hair out, sir. So notice everything we find out about your culture is degenerate, sir. You don't help us at all. It's all degenerate. You're talking about you help foundational Black Americans. You flood our communities with drugs and heroin. That didn't help us. That was a hindrance to us, sir. And then you want to brag about creating a degenerate cycle within our community? Right. That makes you sound like
Black people were begging Italians to work with them. I don't know. Again, you have all your facts wrong because you're in a book all the time.
Sir, we couldn't work around you because this was during the Jim Crow era. So Black people We're not really allowed
right.
around you guys
President
like
Patty.
that in large numbers. And you guys have always segregated yourself, especially in New York. Those Italian neighborhoods were very segregated. I don't know where you're talking about all of this helping Black people. You guys were so segregated from us in Chicago, in New York, and all the
I
other
just
major
read that.
cities. You went out of your way to segregate yourselves from foundational Black Americans.
Ain't
And
gonna
many
be
of the
nowhere near us.
Italians were attacking Black people who just happened to wander in certain towns. So, sir, let's not play that game where you were helping us. You were some of the main people harming us all across the board.
Well, you look at everybody as the same thing. Like, that's
Oh,
like me
boy.
saying that because there's a Black fucking person that's got a slave in Africa right now, that I should hold you responsible for that because you have the same skin color or the same
It's
ancestry.
stupid stuff.
I don't know where you're going, sir.
Right, nobody
At this
does.
point, you're just doing mayonnaise babble. So what I'm going to do, sir, I
In this phone
understand you
call.
probably have some beef ravioli that you can microwave somewhere. So go ahead and take you a nice nap, sir. Eat your rice-a-roni, beef-a-roni, Chef Boyardee, eat you a empanada with some ragu sauce, whatever you do. But it's been real. So you have a good night, sir. All right. Okay. All right.
All right.
So that's
Come
that.
on.
So
All right, so I found this video, family. I don't really know what it is. Somebody made a compilation of Umar and school stuff. And I just want to see what it's about with you guys, if it's any good. I got as far as 1 minute and 48 seconds. So let's see.
Queens from Queens tomorrow. What do I want for Father's Day? Make a donation to the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy so we can get the electric on, brothers and sisters. Will y'all help me get the electric on in the Frederick Douglass High School? Will y'all help me get the electric on in the Frederick Douglass High School?
And let me guess, he's going to see it a third time.
Will y'all help me get the electric on in the Frederick Douglass High School? Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy.
Listen, I just don't, I mean, listen, family. Like when people are desperate and because they were not honest up front and they put themselves in a jam, I don't believe they can see the current scam for what it is. Like they just delude themselves to like believe that everybody still believes school is coming. Brother, if you can't turn it, like first of all, your donors, your supporters, they thought you had all the money that you needed to open, operate, and run a school. They didn't know that they would be responsible for donating to this school until they die. They thought this school, they thought they sent enough money for you to get the school open, operable, and running with a staff and students. Okay, they did not know that you needed money in stages. You need money to get to school. You need money now to get the electrical going, HVAC, and get things cleaned up. And then you're gonna need money to pay the teachers and things like that. Then you're gonna need money for food because you don't take no government, nothing. And the school is open, it's new, so it's not, they don't have no grants, you dig? So it needs money. People gotta get paid and food gotta be bought, books gotta be bought. So his donors didn't know that they will be responsible for every financial issue that he needs. And he never tells them the amount. He never says, hey, the electric bill is $800, family, because one person might write a check for $800. He just leave it as donate to the electric bill. And guess what? It might be $800, but he received, let's say, $8,000. Is he gonna tell people? No, because nobody knows how much everybody sent. This is like a slick hustle that people starting to just realize.
Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Check a money order. No cash.
Yes, that's all. Ain't nothing here. Ain't nothing down there. Ain't nothing down there, family. I'm in the chat now. And I think we did a good show. Did a recap on that one. I had a recap on that one because I watched it over and I I caught some things that dude was slipping in there, and I knew people like Quasimodo and Jamaican Dream were jotting down those notes. So I wanted, this is like a preemptive strike, you know. So if you thought about using these talking points, too late. You got to drop them. The woke warriors. Yeah. So he debated another white Italian, and he debated. Okay, so he debated white Italian, and then he debated some white people on the per capita, the crime stats, and those things. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use all of them in one, right? So I'm just gonna make clips. I'm gonna shorten the videos out. So I'm just gonna take the clips where they mention the crime stats and how black people are violent, things like that. I'm just play the clips and respond to let them talk and then respond to the clips. It's gonna work out. All right, family, we are out of here. I gotta go eat. We won with the lineage. B1.